Well, welcome back, y'all.
Hello.
So I said in episode 3, lucky number 3, and I was wrong, obviously. Now I can finally say it. We are at episode lucky number 7, Delora.
Yay! I'm super excited.
We just wanted to welcome everybody back to Recapping with
Delora
and Ashley. And we have a few things to cover today. We're going to do a couple hot topics. We have some micro dosing to do. Delora's going to hit us with a recap of
the 40-year-old version.
Nice. And then as always, we have our hidden gems for you. So let's go ahead and dive right into these hot topics, girl. This week, Mr. Michael B. Jordan was voted 2020 People's Sexiest Man Alive, picking up the mantle from John Legend, who was the 2019 winner of that, and Idris Elba was 2018. So this is the third Black man who has covered, in a row. What were your thoughts on this pick when you heard about it? Do you still get into People's pick of Sexiest Man Alive?
I've always been a super huge fan of People magazine. I've gotten away from it, but when I was younger, loved the Sexiest Man Alive editions, loved the most beautiful, like that's the equivalent for the women, you know? And so when I saw that Michael B. Jordan was the Sexiest Man Alive this year, I thought, makes sense. I didn't question it, unlike when
last year,
I love John Legend, so that was not a problem for me. It was the Blake Shelton for me.
So I don't even want to talk about Blake Shelton. That was rude. But I will say about John Legend, I love John Legend.
I said.
Exactly. I love John Legend, but I was so surprised at the choice.
I love that choice.
I was surprised.
I am a fan of the geeky, of the brainiacs, of the super talented. I was there for it.
Well, he definitely got some love. I loved his response talking about, I'm happy to pass the mantle. Then I don't have to worry about this extra weight I'm putting on because of COVID. Thought that was very cute.
Michael Bay will probably be in shape for some time. I mean, obviously he's probably going to do another Creed movie and...
Well, his next role is this Tom Clancy movie where he's like ex-CIA and stuff like that. So he's definitely going to be in his usual beautiful shape. But
you know what's interesting about Michael B. Jordan? I didn't know him as a young actor, but he's essentially a kid star. I mean, he started off in the soaps and, and obviously he was in The Wire. I didn't watch The Wire. It's still on my list. We just haven't gotten to it. But I think my first introduction to him was Fruitvale Station, honestly.
Oh, okay.
And then everything else I've followed. I actually seen almost all of his movies except for the last one with Jamie Foxx.
Mercy.
Mercy, yes. Yeah. And that's on my list as well. Like eventually I plan on seeing it.
Yeah, like you, I never watched The Wire, but I did watch Friday Night Lights, the television series, and he was on that.
Either.
Yeah, so that was the first time that I was introduced to Michael B. Jordan. Obviously, you know, as he's become a man, things have changed in terms of, how I look at him and all of those things.
You can tell he was feeling himself once he finally started getting muscles on him, though. Like,
I mean, and he looks good. Like, I cannot. No one can knock that is a good looking man. Okay. Nobody can take that from you, sir. And Killmonger was almost the epitome of that for me because the glasses, the locks, the fangs. Oh my God, sir. I'm not necessarily want a bad boy, but Killmonger had me. That's all I have to say. He had me for sure. So no, this was not a surprising choice to me either. I know he had been mentioned in these for the last, at least 3 or 4 years. So not surprising.
The honorable mention, my boo Dan Levy.
that was exact. I'm gonna need you to get out my mind. I have that down. Dan Levy also made the list. Our dude from Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about the geeky, now Dan Levy is that for me where he's not necessarily somebody that I feel like, oh yeah, I would just see him on the street and stop. But it's everything. It's the culmination. It's his personality, his sense of humor, his talent, plus the looks. I just saw him in something where he was rocking his natural curly hair, and I said, Dan.
He's always impeccably dressed as far as I'm concerned, and I love it. I love it so much.
Handsome man. He's a handsome man. Also noted that Anderson Cooper's son was just voted cutest baby alive. I didn't know this was something we did. I missed this.
They're doing the most.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You know, I love me some Anderson Cooper, like gray, what they call a silver fox. Yes, I'm there for that all day, every day. And I don't care if he doesn't care for women, like.
Well, Dan Levy either, right? But listen, Dan, if you ready, we ready. That's all. That's all the women are saying.
They're great to look at. They're really great at what they do, and they're great to look at while they do it.
Absolutely. Well, our second hot topic of today is Barack Obama's third memoir drop, A Promised Land. The Associated
Volume
Press.
1, by the way.
So, okay.
Yeah, 700
Volume 1.
Pages, and there'll be another volume apparently coming out.
Well, I just saw today in an article from the Associated Press that this book, again, his third, has sold nearly 890,000 copies in the US and Canada in its first 24 hours, putting it on track to be the best-selling presidential memoir in modern history.
Boss. Duh.
Can we say that Barack Obama still has that thing, and I think we'll always have that thing. That's what he do. That's what he do. Okay. Yes. Did you see the cover of In Style? That face that he makes is like, that's what I do. He has swag forever, right? Like I saw where he did the shot, the basketball shot
that's on Instagram recently.
Ashley. Oh, I thought you were talking about literally the cover. Got you.
So he said, obviously, in that clip, that's what I do. And I was like, that's what he do. Like, I'm just
got you. Yes. I used to wonder if my attraction to Obama was okay, but I think it is. Like, I think there's just no denying, again, the swag. And Michelle, I say that with the utmost respect.
That's Michelle's husband.
I say that with the utmost respect. No disrespect ever, because I love Michelle Obama. I'm just saying, I used to feel like, should I like it? Is that appropriate? But yes, it is.
So I still view him in that light, how you just don't find, pastors and presidents of the United States attractive, right? Like
you mean you don't, Dolores?
Oh, I don't. Right.
You got some respect. I
put respect on their names and their occupation. So I'm like, I don't have time to look at whether or not they're attractive. Are they doing the Lord's work? But I have to admit, like, in some ways, he would not have been, I'm going to say it, in some ways, he would not have been able to climb as fast as he has.
Yeah.
If he wasn't, one, charismatic, and two, attractive. I mean.
Well, there you go.
I said it, and attraction does matter, unfortunately. So
and didn't have Michelle Obama on his arm, right? Because I can be honest, from the excerpts I read of the book, the most interesting things for me still involve Michelle and about the marriage, particularly that excerpt where he kind of talks about the fact that kind of the playing second fiddle bothered Michelle, as much as, she stuck with it, did everything she needed to do, because Michelle is a boss.
I remember having this conversation with my mom, and we would just talk about, like, who would you prefer to meet first? And it was like, Barack or Michelle? And it was like, yeah, Michelle.
I mean,
like, if I had to, it would be Michelle first all day, every day. You know what I mean? Because I respect him, obviously, first Black president of these United States. But Michelle is just it, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
I mean, again, she's such a force, and I think everything that she was accomplished prior to Barack Obama being president, while he was president, post-presidency, just really speaks to, again, the fact that Michelle was never playing second fiddle to anybody, baby.
To no one. And the thing that I love about their relationship is the fact that he respects her. Like, he understood that she was the breadwinner for many years in their relationships. Mind you, he's not a bum because he was a Harvard law student. So let's get that out there.
Ever was Barack Obama a bum?
He actively chose to do very low profit, nonprofit endeavors. Okay.
Right.
And whereas
as did Michelle, she was over the one nonprofit in Chicago.
Yeah,
right?
But that's after she left her corporate job where she was a boss. Like, so
absolutely.
I just feel like, you know, I kind of understand that, and I love the fact that he recognized that, because that shows that he cares about her well-being instead of him being so consumed with, I'm president of the United States.
Right.
My farts don't stink. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he cares about the well-being of his wife. And in some of those same excerpts, he talked about how, you know, Michelle obviously found her strides as first lady, even though,
for sure,
you know, his ambition was a strain on the relationship.
Yeah, again, love. I think the point that one of the articles made, which was at this point we would have thought we knew everything, but there's still things to discover, is what I think continues to be exciting about, you know, him putting out more books, Michelle potentially putting out more books, is there's still layers to unpack. Yes. For the Obamas. So those are
I also think it was wise that her book came out first before his, by the way.
Okay. Well, I mean, her book sold very, very well. So
it's the best-selling book of 2018, like best-selling book. And I think honestly, it's probably still on some bestsellers list right now. But I just love that how she got a chance to shine, and then he came out with his. So
well, Michelle's is still on my coffee table. So there you go.
I have 2 copies.
Those are our 2 hot topics for today. I was going to move into our micro doses because we have 2 main ones we're going to talk about, and then just a couple micro doses. So the first micro dose is going back to This Is Us. So we are now 3rd week of our season 5, and there were some interesting moments in this particular episode this week. Randall had an accidental but viral striptease in his office. Kevin has a new acting gig, but it doesn't seem like he necessarily is beloved by the director. Kate is going further along in her adoption process and kind of wondering, you know, are we going to be able to, you know, hold on to this birth mother, worried about the relationship? But then we also find out there's a secret,
a major skeleton fell off that closet,
right, from her teenage years that she has not disclosed to anyone. And then lastly, you know, we're getting a little bit closer still every episode to finding out more about where Randall's birth mother is, because that's still a big thing hanging out there. So what did you think of this episode?
We don't know his name, right? He's the Vietnamese grandfather. That's how I'm referring to him.
We do not know who the Vietnamese gentleman is, besides the fact that obviously he's had some form of a relationship with his birth mother from the past episode where he was talking to his granddaughter, I'm assuming she was, and you see the pictures in the background. So did you enjoy this episode? What'd you think about it?
I did. The way I surmised this episode, my notes are abs, Rebecca, baby, tired. So I'll start with the abs. It looks like Sterling K. Brown is shooting for next year's cover for Sexiest Man Alive. Because I mean,
wouldn't be mad.
He has the accolades. He just needs. I mean, This Is Us is a major project, but maybe he might need a big movie or something to solidify that for him. But I loved it. I love that we got a chance to see the lighter side of Randall this episode, because it actually took me off guard. I was like, oh, Randall's happy and telling jokes. There isn't a potential meltdown around the corner right now. And like, that was great. Rebecca got on my last nerves. Her parenting skills, the way she babied Kevin was like, wait, okay, so the scene where she's like getting on Jack, like, oh my goodness, he's tired.
About football, yeah,
about football. And then when he had a bad day, oh, he should quit. And so when he finally told her about herself, I felt relieved. But I was like, I don't believe in quitting. I believe in finishing what you started. So that is something I plan on implementing in my child's life. But I was so annoyed with Rebecca. I'm like, no wonder Kevin is just.
I felt like she was being a mom, though, in that case of, like, you see her when he's a baby and she doesn't want to let him self-soothe. It's hard to let him cry. Then obviously when he gets a little older, she just doesn't want to see her children unhappy or in pain. And I get that, but at the same time, it's so indicative, unfortunately, of so many other aspects of Kevin's character. And we know that as viewers.
Yes.
And you and I already have a problem, not just with Kevin, but with the real actor in real life. So it's like, I kept telling my mom, I was like, I have to reel this in, because like I'm really starting to like just have no care in the world for Kevin's character in terms of anything he's going through. Because it's just like he always seems so entitled.
Yes. I didn't even feel sorry for him when that director was giving him a hard time. I'm just like,
I was like, he clearly doesn't want you on the movie.
To be fair, it was extremely hard to read the director and how he felt about Kevin. I thought it was interesting how he phrased it. He was like, "Oh, so you're an attaboy?" And I'm just like, "Oh, okay, I guess."
Yeah, it's almost like, did you feel some type of way about me before I got on this project where you felt like you needed to change your behavior to get my performance to be something you wanted it to be? That's kind of how I ended up seeing it, as like his approach to the female actress and what he thought she needed to get the best performance out of her was different than Kevin.
And that's what a director is supposed to do, right? So as far as baby, Kate annoyed me this episode too. It's like, you're really gonna drop the baby's name of a child that you technically do not have yet. Like, I just like, you make some of the dumbest mistakes sometimes. I don't know. I'm working on Kate and I've had moments where I haven't had much patience for her, because I feel like she blames a lot of things on the death of her father. And I'm not saying I don't know what that's like. Okay. However, I feel like she lacks accountability. So does Kevin. So maybe that's my issue with the characters.
Yeah, I think I give Kate more grace than I give Kevin. But again, that's because of other circumstances.
Yes. Yeah. And then the last thing, tired. I love how apparently that argument really got to Kevin more than we were led on, because he always acts like a duck, and how water just rolls off of it, you know what I mean? And so the fact that he's reiterating, "Oh, I'm a tired actor, I need to switch things up," I just thought that was interesting. Like, it did get to you, didn't it?
Right. And I think it's one of those moments too, because they did the flashbacks to when they were teenagers, that does remind you that, as many differences as Randall and Kevin have as brothers, they still have a bond. They still had moments in time where they really depended on each other, were there for each other, looked to each other for support. So it's kind of sad
between, though.
But maybe that's just what we've seen so far. But at the same time, it's like, it is kind of sad that y'all are at such odds, because you think about it, Kevin helped Randall with his breakdowns. You see now that Randall helped him, football. Remember, Kevin was about to go and be a big time football player before he got injured. Right. So it's just like, that is still his brother. So you do still feel a little bit of that, like, oh, that is sad, that y'all are at such odds. Hopefully y'all can mend it. Was that always going to happen? In my opinion, though, yeah, I think that argument was always going to happen at some point.
That was 40 years of tension.
Yeah, they had a lot that was left unsaid.
I'm sorry, 39 years.
The big 40 was what season? Was episode 1? All right. Well, our second microdose is the series premiere of a new show on ABC called Big Sky. It just premiered on Tuesday. It is an hour long, and it is from creator David E. Kelly, who has done shows going back to The Practice, Ally McBeal. Recently on HBO, he did Big Little Lies, The Undoing, which, we may end up recapping on HBO as well. Stars Ryan Phillippe, Kylie Bunbury, who we both enjoyed from shows like Pitch.
Yes. And she was also in When They See Us too.
Oh, was she?
She played the sister of the young man from This Is Us, who was also in When They See Us.
Okay, all right. Well, another reference point for you guys. I was trying to think on that, but I just kind of wrote that this series premiere was a bit dark. Now, the trailer kind of alluded to this darkness, but it went a little bit further, I think, than even I was expecting.
I didn't even know what the show was about, honestly.
So you went in cold.
Trailer. I did.
Okay. So it's really about two sisters, essentially, in this first episode, who end up getting kidnapped by a truck driver on a highway, and the rural, remote area of Montana.
Scenic.
Yeah, not rural, remote is what I was trying to say. And it's actually, I found out today that it's based on a series of books by an author named C.J. Box. And it seems like the one that this was based on is called The Highway. But, my main thoughts again about this series premiere is that it was a bit dark. I found the ending kind of certain things that happen with certain characters, which, spoiler alert, if you have not seen this, Ryan Phillippe, who I thought was going to be a star of the show, is killed in episode 1. That was a turn for me. Now, was I shocked by it? No, because the cop, I said from his first scene, I said he was creepy. And I remember him from Gothica.
I sensed that darkness as well.
I remember him from Gothica. He was one of the bad guys in Gothica. So every time I see him, that's kind of what my mind references. And just the way his speech, his demeanor, everything was off. And
I feel like in every horror or thriller, slasher movie, what have you, whenever the main character is married to a woman and he refers to her as mother, or if they're simply still living with their mother and refers to their mother as mother, there's some type of psycho.
Creepy. The fact that the truck driver was living with his mother, right, was like red flag. Like, oh, he's probably
absolutely
crazy.
Mommy issues. Mommy, however, was cold towards him. She was reading him for filth on that porch, and I'm just like, I'm surprised he didn't just turn around and slap her. Like,
well, I mean, you can see why he kidnaps women.
Issues.
Yeah, yes. And you can see why he targets women. Which, speaking of, I feel like every serial killer for real that I've heard about that does a lot of killings of women all have mommy issues. So I think that is a real factor, supposedly, in the psychology. So, kudos to David E. Kelly if we're sticking with that. But I will just say, I'm curious to see where they're going to be able to go from here. Because again, how far can we go? Is Ryan Phillippe only going to be in the show with flashbacks? How far into the future can we go with this from starting with this point? You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts. Did you have any other thoughts after watching this series premiere?
I really want to go to Montana. I've always wanted to, by the way, but like this episode made it very enticing for me. It was very scenic. Love the mountains. Love the trees. I love nature. I have an appreciation for nature. I don't need to be in it for long periods of time, but I can do it, for a little bit.
Well, I think you'll be okay because you're a Black woman. I say if you a young white girl, you may want to watch this show as a cautionary tale. Even though, let me just say that the one sister who was driving frustrated me so bad because I think she took things to another level.
That road rage situation was too much. I said the same thing. And as far as Ryan Phillippe, I just simply wrote, "Welp."
Like, bye, baby. We thought she was about to be getting a check.
Looking forward to seeing him. I still enjoy him. I mean, he's peak, late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Cruel intentions.
I just read, by the way, that he thought his parents were going to disown him after that movie because he went to, like, a Christian school growing up. So it was very, like, out of the box.
That movie was crazy.
Into that role. It was very risque, right? Very risque at the time, especially at that time. And that was, 1999?
Something.
Anyway, I digress. Last thing I wanted to ask about was love triangle. What do you think about the love triangle between him, his ex-wife, and Kylie's character?
I'm not invested, so I don't know.
Did you feel like, though, it was, because I remember seeing the previews and thinking that he was messing with the blonde on Kylie, but obviously he's still married to the blonde, and Kylie is a friend. So in my mind, immediately, Kylie, you're wrong. What are you doing?
Yes. I mean, obviously, immediately. But the wife ultimately went back to him because I was like, okay, we're doing all this cat fighting. Who's going to talk to the dude? Is he going to get these hands too? So
they fought. Let me just say, that was a hell of a fight. They fought. I said she punched her. She sucker punched her.
And they kept going. Kept going.
There was no hair pulling. There was no wrestling around. No, we throwing punches.
Busted lips and eyes.
Girl.
So I was just wondering if he was gonna get some. And
he did get some, but
a little bit.
he did get
I got it. But when she said, I know our friend, she would not have done done what she done if she thought there was a chance for us. And
Right.
apparently, is there a chance for us? And so I thought that was interesting. I'm not invested enough for me to have any strong opinions or emotions towards it.
You know what I compared it to when I was watching it was what Jada Pinkett said about when you've never been married before, you don't necessarily understand what it's like to go through the dissolution of a relationship or a marriage. And she felt like she should have never stepped into that when Will Smith's first marriage was ending. That's kind of what I took into that moment. Cause I was like, even if you thought it was over, whatever, there's still ramifications to your actions you need to think about.
Exactly. They feel comfortable enough to still, do what they need to do. I'm like,
and they have a child. They have a child.
So until those ties are officially severed, you shouldn't step into that at all.
Exactly. So a couple micro doses. Zendaya's Essence shoot. You brought this to my attention, and once you sent it to me, I was like, oh, I do remember seeing that. Her shoot for the November-December issue for Essence. They've been doing their 50th anniversary celebration. Z is our girl.
Yes.
What were your thoughts about wardrobe, styling, her interview, all those things?
So I didn't get a chance to read the interview, but I've just still been glued to these pictures. Okay. And so they are all in black and white, replicate the looks of Danielle Luna, who was a iconic 1960s supermodel, one of the first Black supermodels. And I really love that she did this shoot with her wonderful stylist, La Roach. Love him. Follow him on Instagram. I just these black and white photos are just breathtaking as far as I'm concerned. I can't even tell you which one I love most, but I'll try. Okay. So one of my my favorite look would be when she's just sitting up in this like feather moment and her hand is on her knee and she's just she's a model, obviously. I thought that Elle shoot was everything, by the way, because she's on the cover of that this month, this upcoming month as well. But this Essence shoot is just blew it out the water. And like I said, it's legendary. I got a chance to look up again this supermodel, and I would love to hear more about her story because she's from Detroit originally, and then she shot to Fashion World, stardom, and then she crashed really hard and died from a drug overdose. And she married an Italian photographer and everything. Like she has, that lively Hollywood stardom life. She also was an actress, and I don't know. I would love to know more about her. Like, it'd be really nice that if this could get people more interested in this model, because her pictures are like one for one, like iconic picture, redoing iconic picture after iconic picture. So what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, you already spoke to really the fashion, which, as you mentioned, is gorgeous. Zendaya is one of my sheroes when it comes to fashion. And I think one of the reasons for that is not just because I think she has impeccable style, but also because we have similar body types. So when I see her wear things that are beautiful and I see her aesthetic, it's like, oh, I could wear that. I would wear that. And I know that it would look good on me and not just something that, someone else will wear that I'm like, oh, that's really cute. So I also loved in the interview side of it that she really utilized the opportunity to uplift and praise Black women, especially Black women who are in the industry. She's name dropping Lena and Issa and just really talking about this moment and how, when Black women win, she's excited to see it at all times and she hopes that kind of continues. So I absolutely loved it. Again, I've loved Zendaya. I was super excited when she became the youngest person ever to win an Emmy Award. Like, that is my girl. So I was saving the
interview because I subscribed to Essence, so I didn't get mine in the mail.
Oh, well, those are just excerpts. I did not read the full. Those are just the excerpts out on the website that they have from like her just doing and talking about things while she was.
And I just want to let the listeners know that as well. I'm waiting for my my
copy.
subscription.
Got you. So another mini microdose is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion that just came out on HBO Max today. When I tell you I had to figure out so fast if I had access and how to access it. This show is, I wrote down Black sitcom royalty, but it's just sitcom royalty.
Yes.
There were a lot of stories, obviously, that, you know, as audience, we've never heard. And I know some of them are out on social media, on Instagram. Probably the most impactful for me, though, was getting to hear original Aunt Viv, OG Aunt Viv, Jeanette Hubert kind of say her piece about what happened and the real story behind that, and to see that kind of be mended. And then I just wanted to touch real quick on our favorite episodes of Fresh Prince. So I just have to say my favorite episode, when I was thinking about it after hearing them, I was just got me thinking about it for myself. I think it's still when Tevin Campbell was on, he sang Ashley happy birthday, because obviously I am Ashley and I was in love with Tevin Campbell as well. And I said he was singing to me. Okay, he was singing to me. Still my favorite, I think, in terms of, you know, the body of work I loved as a whole, but that one stuck with me. What's an episode of yours that really stuck with you, or that you think was a favorite from the 6 seasons of the show?
There are several, and they're featuring amazing Black women.
All the features were phenomenal. Yeah.
Yes. So the first one was with Gina, I'm so sorry, Tisha Campbell.
Yeah.
When she was dating Will and they were like stuck in the basement or something. And like she just slowly started just peeling off everything. So memorable.
That's my second favorite episode I have written down. She was like, he was talking about, your hair isn't real, this isn't real, what else is real? And then she starts popping off her fake nails. Here. I'm like, yes. First of all, every Black female actress was featured in that show at some point in time, except for Jada. Because remember, I think the story was that they said Jada was too short, and he was like, well, I guess if you can't be in the show, I guess you're gonna be my wife. You know, like that's how
I love it.
Picture it. Yeah.
Loved it when even though Tyra's starting to get on my nerves more and more as I get older. I feel like I don't have the patience for her. But anyway, loved it when they ran into each other when Carlton and Will were in college and she worked at the
I was about to say the Max, but that was Saved by the Bell.
It was the bookstore, the college bookstore, and how they like reunited. I love that. And then I'm trying to think. There was another one where they went out skiing, and I forgot who was the feature in that one. Was it like a Vanessa Williams or something?
I mean, it's possible, right? I can't even remember. They showed a clip where, even Vivica, everyone has been on that show, at one point in time.
But I loved it because Queen was on there. Queen Latifah was on there at one point. And then, of course, the legendary episode when they do Dumb, Bum, Bum, Bum. Oh, they were in Vegas.
Yes.
Jump on it.
Which they would do every Friday in Will's room. They were talking about that in terms of like kind of their wind down for the week. Again, I loved Fresh Prince. I love the energy of the show. Also love the point where you get to hear Will kind of talk about how his process went to actually get into the show. So that was another highlight of me from the reunion. But if you like kind of behind the scenes stuff, which you and I do, I think you'll really enjoy this Fresh Prince Bel-Air reunion. Everybody except for obviously rest in peace James Avery was on the reunion. So it's worth the check out. HBO Max, by the way, people, if you have HBO, you do have access to HBO Max. Yes, so but sometimes don't worry.
They can be kind of weird because we have our HBO Max through our Hulu, and not everything shows up. You have to go straight to the app and maybe like cast it to your TV. It's
different devices because the Fire Stick just got HBO Max, but we have Roku's, and so the Roku's don't yet have it. So I just downloaded it on my phone. I watched it on my phone easy. So,
did you? Okay.
Yeah. So the last micro dose is just me and you. We're missing Verzuz season 2 kickoff tonight. We're recording this on a Thursday with Jeezy and Gucci. Yeah. And first of all, I didn't know about the super bad blood between the two of them. I don't know where I've been.
Me neither.
I'm going to need somebody to call me after this and let me know, that everything goes smoothly because, I didn't know this is what Gucci got a murder charge for. I'm like, hold on, what?
No,
Yes.
first of all,
Yes.
out of all the verses, I was least interested in this one because,
Okay.
frankly, I know more Jeezy than Gucci. I hated Gucci for a very long time. Like him
Mm,
saying Gucci, like every other, I just couldn't. I couldn't. And then he went to jail.
right.
And then I don't. Has he had a lot of hits since he's been back? I've seen his wedding. I saw that he married the woman who held him down all those years.
Right.
But I feel
I
like I
don't
know
follow.
way
Yeah, I
more
don't follow
Jeezy music.
Gucci. I don't follow Gucci like that in terms of his music. I agree with you, but again, I don't really follow either closely. Again, I was just
No.
more so once I heard about season 2 was launching, I'm like, okay, let
Mm-hmm.
me see. Originally,
Mm-hmm.
Ti was going to be in it, and then they decided it was
Yes.
going to be because I think Gucci originally turned it down, and
Really?
then and then stepped in. So again, I need somebody to call me tomorrow, which is today probably when everybody's hearing this, and let me know what happened. Because the Brandy and Monica was fire, but that was a different
Of
type of beef.
course.
That was some R&B beef.
Yes.
This some rap beef. So
And
hope
they
all
could
goes
not
well.
fake it, or at least Monica couldn't fake it long enough.
Girl, all
Brandy
the
was
texts
doing
you were
too
sending me
much.
during that was hilarious. Was hilarious. But I digress, girl. I'm gonna turn it over to you for our recap of the 40-year-old version.
Yes, 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 yes. So this week's recap is the 40-year-old version. It is a Netflix original. Netflix bought this film from Sundance, which won, which award did it win? It won the U.S. Dramatic Competition Directing Award. It is starring Radha Blank, who is writer, producer, director, and star of this film. She's also have credits as a producer for She's Got to Have It, the series, also a Netflix original.
Is
And
that right?
yes, ma'am.
Because this gave me vibes. I'll just say
Yep,
that.
because we will get there. Because yes,
Yes.
I have lots to say on that too. The film is 2 hours and 4 minutes long. It's rated R, which is kind of refreshing considering everything's MA. Everything,
Including this podcast. Anyway.
including this podcast. So, the official description of the movie, Radha, a down on her luck New York playwright, is desperate for a breakthrough before 40. But when she foils what seems like the last shot at success, she's left with no choice but to reinvent herself as rapper Romunus Prime. See, it's a lot.
Rodimus.
Rodimus
Rodimus.
Prime. Yes, Rodimus. Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
The 40-year-old version follows Radha as she goes between the worlds of hip hop and theater on a quest to find her true voice. A fresh addition to the New York City slice of life canon, shot in lush black and white 35 Blank's film is an ode to the unfulfilled and those whose adversity gives them a one-of-a-kind story to tell. Again, it's starring Radha Blank, also Peter Kim as Archie, Oswin Benjamin as Dee, the music producer, Amani Lewis as Elaine, one of the students, Hiscari Vasquez as Rosa, Antonio Ortez as Waldo, TJ Adams as Camille, and Reed Burney as Jay Whitman, who's the producer. I wanted to go back a little bit. A lot of people, they have done other work, but none really stand out. I will say the young lady who plays Rosa is in the new Saved by the Bell remake that's coming to Peacock.
Cool.
And yeah, so overall reception. I heard about this film from all my favorite Black creators, i.e. Matthew Cherry, the Oscar-winning creator of Hair Love, the animated short, and Ava DuVernay, who is legend. So I followed them heavy on Twitter, and I remember back in October, there was a lot of buzz around this movie because it did well at Sundance. And again, like I mentioned previously, Netflix acquired it, and it had its first trailer and a release date. So overall, Rotten Tomatoes critics love this movie at 98%. Audience gives it a 63% score. And it's up first. It has nominations at the Gotham Awards, which features a lot of Black talent. And so, Ashley, how would you grade this movie?
So I ended up giving this an A-, and I have to say, I ended up, the first time I watched it, I had to split it into 2 parts because I was traveling. So I was so thoroughly entertained as I was watching this for the first time, from her kind of comedic slants that I was seeing with like the situation on the bus, and just so many scenes that were so lighthearted, but also, you could see happening in real life. I really enjoyed to just, again, being able to relate to her. I'm not 40 yet, but I can see that day. And I think a lot of the things that transpired in the movie, I really, really could relate to and enjoyed on that level. But again, there were so many things that I equated it to, right? Like I said, she's got to have it with the black and white. I enjoyed that very much. The fact that, we're getting to see someone who's kind of at a stagnant point in their life, and kind of the transformation of that was exciting because I didn't know necessarily where we were going to go with it. So overall, I so thoroughly enjoyed it. I got a lot from it, which is one of the reasons I've said in the past where I give a high grade is when you really stop and make me kind of evaluate and think about things. So from that level, I was thoroughly entertained. And so I give it an A-.
Yay! I gave it an A- also.
Oh my gosh, twinning today.
We are on the same page. I think this is our first time, actually.
It is, yeah.
Yes. So I enjoyed it. There were several moments in the film where I got a good laugh in, and it was refreshing because there's so many things that are meant to be like critically acclaimed and awesome and wonderful, and you're like, I get it, but it's not really funny.
Right. Exactly.
And I really loved her humor in this film. And so we'll talk more about our impressions in a moment, but I just loved it. I highly recommend it. I was a little nervous though, because even though I didn't really see the trailer, I did see everything in black and white, but all I knew before watching it was, okay, Black creative, a lot of buzz. I saw the poster. I'm like, oh, this should be fun. And so when I saw it and I saw everything was in black and white, I got a little nervous, like, okay, hopefully this isn't too artsy fartsy that, I'm not going to get it. So, but yeah, definitely loved her humor.
I think what it helped with the black and white for me, sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no worries.
With the black and white, I think what it did for me was to help to create a divide between everything else that we watch, because it made it stand out more. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, this is refreshing, because I don't ever see anything in black and white anymore.
And the only reason why I gave it an A- instead of a solid A would be the ending. And we'll definitely talk about that. So is there anything you want to say before our spoiler alert?
No, let's get into it, girl.
All right, spoiler alert. All right. So, first impressions. Do you want to go, or can I go with mine?
Feel free to take us moving forward.
Okay. So, when I first started watching it, I was like, okay, heavy Spike Lee vibes, right?
Yeah, like exactly.
Heavy. Everything from obviously the black and white from She's Gotta Have It. And granted, Spike didn't invent that, but from the music to the interviews with like neighborhood people, I'm like,
exactly.
Very Spike Lee.
Yes. It's New York. It's the setting. It's the vibe.
Yes. And that was my second point, because these are practically like point 1A, point 1B, very, very New York. Okay.
Yes. Like I kept waiting on the Nola Darling music, because remember how she had a certain music? I kept waiting to hear that.
Yes. And but obviously she still used like a jazzy soundtrack, you know, in the background. But New
Which was
York,
her father's music, by the way. That was her father's
yes,
music.
impressive. Yes,
Beautiful.
yes. And but New York itself was definitely a character in itself. Like it was a
Mhm.
New York film, okay? And as I mentioned before, a lot of praise and even an award. And honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing how well it does this award season. Also with it's so weird with COVID because so many things would have happened at this point, right? So yeah, Golden Globes, Oscars. I'm hoping that it gets some real recognition, you know, since we're in this Black Lives Matter moment in our society.
Yeah, I'd be very
Um,
curious. I think I'm a little less hopeful than you may be, it sounds like, because I'm thinking I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I don't know still yet if the powers that be, the forces that be, I know again that there have been attempts to broaden diversity,
mhm.
but I'm still a little skeptical about if certain things that they may not be able to easily relate to will be recognized. But I
I
think it's great.
I think it's
So
great. And if anything, it'll be the little movie that kid. And I'm not calling her movie little, but you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
if we can get this
she's not
in
a
this
well-known
film,
person, so
exactly.
yeah.
The cast isn't, they're not full of well-known actors or anything like that. It's almost like Moonlight in some ways, obviously.
Which
Um,
almost makes it more enjoyable too, because these people are these characters. It's not like you're looking at an actor who you know from X, Y, and
yes.
Z. You're seeing people and you're like,
Yes.
oh, that is Rosa, that is Radha. Like these are these
Mm-hmm.
people because I don't know
Mm-hmm.
them from anything else.
And it's so well, that's so well put because we've been so inundated with so many celebrity shows, from game shows to TV shows to movies, and best friend celebrities come together to make their films and things like that. Like it's just, we're always inundated with that. So honestly, to go through even the cast list, I'm like, I've never seen any of these people in anything, or if they've been in anything, they've just been, you know, background characters. There's no such thing as small characters or actors. Just,
That's very
but
true.
and so yeah, especially like her friend Archie. But we'll get into that. So, what's your first impression?
So again, definitely to your point about the she's got to have it Spike Lee. Once I moved past that, I felt like this movie was so much about relationships. Like I think almost every note I have is relationship with her students in class, relationship with Archie, relationship with her mother who is deceased. You know, it's very
Mm-hmm.
much about, you know, her, not just her relationship with herself and her rediscovery of herself and her talents and kind of where she wants to go, but it's also centered, in my opinion, on her relationships with all these other characters and kind of where they are in their lives and how they
Mm-hmm.
intersect. So that was, I guess, a top note that I had for that. Other first impressions, again, I, as a Black woman, fully can relate to Radha's character. I found her to be interesting. I found her to be
Yes.
humorous as
That's why I
hell.
think I got her humor so well, right? Like,
Yes.
yes.
It's just like, and you know, the struggle too, obviously one of the main things is staying true to yourself, especially in the midst of
Yes.
the pressure to conform in order to be successful, because, you know, she's
Mm-hmm.
been struggling as a playwright and she has this opportunity to possibly be able to have a regional theater production, but at what cost, right? It's at the
Yes.
cost of her conforming and not being able to use her voice in the way she wants to. So, you know, that whole
Or the
idea,
cost of being
especially,
broke.
yeah, that whole idea, especially as a Black person or a person of color, of having to
Mm-hmm.
compromise who you really are for the sake
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, the coin, as she ends up saying in one of her rhymes,
Mm-hmm.
was, you know, was a central theme, and I could relate to that aspect as well. And I guess kind of the last theme I guess I can think of is the idea of never being afraid to like reinvent oneself and to kind of
Yes.
go back to things that maybe you had lost, because with her
Yes.
being a rapper, at some point you could have thought that came out of the blue, but then you realize, well, she's been rapping since she was in high school. So it's
Yes.
not this new art form for her. It's just something she kind of let go of. And now she's
Mm-hmm.
rediscovering and reinventing who she wants to be in the future. So I thought that was a beautiful message.
Absolutely.
You're never too old. It's never too late. It doesn't
Never.
matter what path you're on. I
Yes.
definitely love that as an element of this story. So
Yes, well said. Well said. So for this recap, I'm going to touch upon larger moments in the movie. So feel free to bring up some things along the way, but I'm just going to try to touch upon large moments. So Radha is a woman, as we mentioned, who's lost her way. She was once on top of her career, making the 30 under 30 list as a playwright. However, her glory days are behind her. So waiting for her glory days to return, she's doing the one thing that she thought she'll never do: teach. The first thing that came to mind for me is, those who can't do teach, right? And so she's teaching a rowdy group of high school students who oddly love talking about genitalia. So
it's
Radha,
odd at that age, though. Right. I mean, we're still talking about genitalia in our 30s. So, I don't know how odd it was. I was like, listen, that's probably about the age you're like, hey, everything's going a little crazy.
Yes. And so Radha is also putting pressure on herself because she's knocking on 40's door. So she has this cup that she's been carrying around, which I thought was hilarious. She's essentially smoothing her way to her 40th birthday. She calls it 40 pounds, but by 40. I love it. And so in efforts to, do something that she would be proud of before her 40th, she decided to actively work on finding a workshop for her play Harlem Ave, which is essentially about a Black couple trying to make it, and they're faced with gentrification in their neighborhood. She first goes to Umojo Theater, where she meets Foster. And we can start here.
I think his name is Forrest, actually.
Oh, Forrest. Yes, thank you.
But he is one of the funniest characters in the entire film. Like, he is that epitome of being artistic, being about, the realness of self-expression. He said it's about cause, not commerce. He was very much, I'm one with the people. When he has the person performing on stage and he's just going, I don't feel it. I'm like,
that's
man.
the rapper, Yama.
Yes, I did.
M.A. Or what's her name?
I don't know her name, but I did recognize her as a rapper for sure.
There were a lot of rappers sprinkled throughout the film,
which
too.
Makes sense, right? Because, again, that's what Radha's second act is about to look like.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought Forrest was hilarious. I loved him so much.
Yes. And one of the parts where I laughed the most at is she's like, I know Black theater is usually under resources and underfunded. And at that very moment, there was a leak from the ceiling that's making
I also love because my mom's name is Karen. She was like, listen, can we talk to another ancestor? Because I got an Aunt Karen and I know she would not want me to be broke, Like, who are you talking to? I think, again, it just showed the epitome of, like, the challenges of staying true to yourself while trying to survive. Like, you're a grown adult. You have bills to pay.
Yes. And so they contrast that going to Umojo Theater to going to this fancy, schmoozy dinner hosted by Jay Whitmer, who is a producer, and she got invited because her wonderful agent Archie. So let's talk about Archie.
Yes,
my favorite character of this movie.
Mine too, besides Radha, obviously.
Obviously, Radha is everything, but Archie is such a great companion to Radha.
He's a ride or die.
He's such a ride or die. So he's her agent who is willing to do anything to help her, including sexual favors.
Right.
And he's obviously a little bit more financially successful than Radha. That's something that I noticed. But he's living his best life. What else would you like to add about Archie?
Archie. I mean, I think it was just so funny that, they were able to give her a best friend that she had known for so long. So you're able to kind of see, again, a different side of Radha, which is, the growing up side, the fact that, they went to prom together, all those things were just like anecdotal, interesting notes about her character and his character. So the fact they've been able to maintain a bond and also work together is amazing. And the fact that Archie, again, when I say he's a ride or die, tickled the old white man's balls so that she could get back into his good graces.
Oh, but we're not there yet, because I want to get to that point for sure. So
okay.
One of the things
he was a ride or die.
Ride or die for sure. So she then goes to this party, as I mentioned, with Jay Whitman, hosted by Jay Whitman. And he's obviously, like, I'm assuming, a caricature of New York producers, you know, Broadway, very of themselves, very artistic, but out of touch. And one of the ways that they described him, she referred to him as a producer of Black poverty porn plays.
Poverty porn. Listen, that was a new term.
For anyone who didn't know, but you know, the first thing that came to mind for me was Precious, which was the epitome of Black poverty porn. Ooh. Because it was too much. It was just like, what? Yeah, it was coming at all
You're being molested by both parents? Like, yeah, that was a lot.
We can stop there. I'm good. So in this party, she's trying to convince him to produce her workshop, which eventually will become a play for Harlem Ave. And their conversation was really interesting, Ashley, because I did quote him on this particular moment. So he was like, she was, you know, giving him, you know, the elevator pitch. And after she was done with it, he essentially looked at her and said, you know, it rang a little inauthentic. I asked myself, did a Black person really write this? Girl.
I think I have that quoted in my notes too.
I was like, this white man is really talking to this Black woman.
He was so offensive, Delora. He was so deeply
oblivious
offensive.
To it. So oblivious to it.
But again, you could even see before she went and spoke to him that she already knew what she was going to get from him.
Yes,
so, you know, he already had that reputation. But again, to what extent as an audience, we knew what he was going to say. I was unprepared. I was fully unprepared. I was like,
my mouth was agape. And I was laughing.
He did not just say. And then a moment before that made me realize what she was in for was, do you recall the two white women having a discussion about a multiracial revival of Fences?
Yes.
I said, Lord Jesus, do not let anybody see this and get this ludicrous idea in their head.
What they said, the all-women revival of 12 Angry Men.
Girl, this scene was so deeply offensive. I just couldn't handle it.
And so mind you, he said all this to her face, right?
He did.
And then he was like, well, you know, work on it some more and maybe I'll consider. And then he's like, but you will help me for my Harriet Tubman, the musical, right? And Ashley, in this moment, she choked this man out.
Which I thought was a montage. I didn't think it was real.
I did not think it was real. I was like, this really happened?
Right.
How is she not, first off, arrested? And then even have,
exactly.
I mean, we'll get to the point where we'll get to the point. So she chokes this man out. And in her despair, because she knew she effed up royally, okay? In her despair, it led her to start to rap. And we realized that rapping, as you mentioned before, is something that she did in high school and she was really good at. And so what was really surprising to me is she met up with Archie after the debacle. Yeah. and she was convinced that rapping is the thing to do. And he's just like, honey, I can try to get you another meeting with him. And I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, what type of audacity? I mean, people have a lot of audacity these days. We find this in the news every day. But to think that Archie was convinced that he could get Radha another meeting with Whitman to consider her freaking play. What did you think about that? I just thought,
So
This is unrealistic.
At that point, my thought was, Archie, what did you do for this man? Because the scene that we as an audience saw, he said no, and he said there was nothing else to talk about.
Yes.
So this next scene, I'm like, Archie, what favors? You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of on the Fire Festival, and I'm thinking of, what's his name, Andy? Yes. I'm like, sir, Archie, what did you do? What did you do, Archie? You know, I was a little concerned.
For some water. Wasn't it for cases of water for the fire?
He went home, took a shower, gargled some mouthwash.
I'm ready. He was ready. Everything.
He was too ready. So I was just like, that's what y'all about to do with my dude Archie. Y'all about to make Archie go down this path?
Oh my goodness. Mind you, Archie is doing all the work, and Radha is over here talking about, no, I'm writing. I'm about to make a mixtape.
And you know what? She was coming at him a little sideways too. Like that voicemail she left him, I was like, you didn't have to talk to him like that.
Yeah.
You know, I get that y'all are friends, but
Yes. So obviously Harlem Ave is on ice, because as far as she's concerned, she's going to focus on her rap career, right? Mm-hmm. So she finds this producer on Instagram, and she's introduced to producer D. I love that she pays him with weed. And the first meeting with him didn't go so well because he didn't make time for her. And so
she's also so socially awkward, it seemed like at first.
Socially awkward. Okay. And so so she didn't get a chance to do anything the first night. However, the second time she stopped by, she tried to tell him about himself, and I loved how she was like, for us to be brothers and sisters, you let me leave out of here at 2-something in the morning and take the train by myself. And then I love how he was like, oh no, it was actually this time we made sure you were okay. And I kind of that was the first sign of him being, you know, kind of endearing, like, you know, don't let the silent awkward, it's not even awkward, he's just, how would you describe him, Ashley?
Again, he was definitely socially awkward, but it wasn't in that way of like, it's unintentional. It's quite intentional. My thing with it was, and I thought about this on my second viewing. First time I was like, oh, he cares. Second time I was like, that's creepy as hell. Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you just follow this woman to the subway stop and you ain't say nothing? That's creepy. Stop being weird.
Yeah.
Announce yourself. And then later when I find out, and I don't want to go ahead of you, that he has a car, I was even more upset. But anyway, I digress.
Yes, that's right. I didn't even make that connection because, you know, being in New York, or I'm not from New York, but what I'm trying to say is watching New York stories, movies, what have you, you know, taking the subway or walking is a way of life. So, you know, you don't, normal. The assumption is that, you know, most people do not have cars.
And yet when he does that doop doop, I'm like,
that was you. That's you.
How we do. Okay. Oh, okay. Got it. Appreciate that.
But so then the second time she met up with him, he is just, so the first time it was a lot of people. The second time it was just him and her. So it was so funny because he had a beat going. He's like, oh, you don't want this one? And so she was like, well, can I, you know, it was really funny because he didn't really talk, but she was doing all the talking and giving him all of her artistic big words and everything like that. That part was really funny to me. Mm-hmm. But they finally find a beat and she goes in. And it's quite impressive. And he's blown away, obviously, for him to be so stone cold faced and quiet. He actually was like, yo, you really want to do this mixtape? Like, I got you on the beats.
Realize she's talented and it's like, oh, okay, I guess we gonna get serious about you then. Which, I mean, to his point, I guess probably being a producer and working, you know, out of his house and all that, he probably has a lot of people who come in and waste his time. So he didn't know whether or not to take her seriously. So, you know, at one point in time, I was a little like, I resent the fact that it took her hopping on the mic and being spitting for him to respect her. Yeah, but at the same time, I get it though. I understood, I think, where he was coming from, as we kind of see in the series too. Mm-hmm. So I let it go. That part I let go, Delora. Again, the car thing, I'm not letting go.
Well, I'll hop over a little bit to her classroom. So she in high school, she's teaching playwriting to her students, and they're trying to come up with something to write on, something to write their play about. And they honestly, I can't even tell you with full confidence what exactly they landed on, but it has something to do with vaginas and penises and I think sperm.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
it was something like the sperm has to woo the egg type of deal to make a baby, something like that.
But
And
the
then there
fact
was a
that
crown. There was a
yes,
crown.
there was a crown. There was like a not a hero, but a main person
Yeah.
trying to And so the best part about the school scenes for me were how lively her students were. Obviously, I think one of my favorite lines is, I think there was a fight that went on or something, and she's like, you know what, this isn't Dangerous Minds. I will
Yes.
call the cops or something crazy like
To
that.
Elaine, who, in my opinion, Elaine was like a living internet troll. Like,
yes,
you're so miserable, and I'm trying to understand where your misery comes from, because it clearly is not, it has nothing to do with me, right? You could tell there was something else going on with her. And then Avery, the fact that Avery and Rosa both had crushes on her, like when Avery says, I turned 20 in 2 weeks, I'm like, sir, I need you to take 5 steps that way.
But what was so funny?
Why are you still in high school?
Wait, what was so funny was when he came on to Radha like that, and she was on that voice call, the way she looked at that boy, was like, all right, Archie, I need for you to call me back now because I might go to jail.
I might either kill or F one of my students. It was basically what she said. Like, Avery, stop trying me. You know what I mean? Like, cut this out.
That was so funny to me. Oh my gosh.
Cut this out. I love the students. I think, everybody, the camaraderie between the ones who really supported her. Again, the fact that some of them were crushing on her. I thought the whole scenario was really cute.
Yes. So now I'm going to go to the showcase. So the one thing about Dee, he had so much confidence in Radha's skills, he invited her to this like showcase. So essentially all the rap artists were using Dee's music. And she was obviously nervous. And so in getting ready for the show, again, we started to see a softer side of Dee. He was like, okay, you nervous? You got this. You got this. And so they end up doing like a quick cipher behind the stage. And she was getting ready to go up on stage. And one of the guys from the cipher offered her some weed.
Mm-hmm.
And she went ahead and puff passed.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanna take it from here, Ashley?
I mean, so I think in her mind, at first she rejected it, and then she thought, well, no, actually this can help me to really relax, right? Yes. It's like, this is maybe what I need. She was in her head, she was worried, but I think whatever strain, and I can't remember what the strain supposedly was, did not do what she thought it was going to do for her.
Real talk though, I really thought, I'm like, I hope this wasn't laced with crack.
I didn't even think that. You know what I thought though? I was like, anytime that you are playing with like any substances, you don't necessarily always know how you're going to react. So my thought was, if you're already nervous and you're going up in front of a crowd, weed is not necessarily the best thing to like get you going for that, You
be better off just taking a couple of shots of tequila.
So when she kept saying,
it a day.
yo, I'm like, oh my God, she's about to crash and burn.
And I will say the one thing this movie did very well were the awkward, cringy moments. And that right there was so cringy. I was like, too high, and it was a complete flop. And the thing, the reason why I brought up the students was the students were so excited to see her. They heard about her rapping, and they were all there front row cheering her on. And Rhonda choked. She she choked multiple times in this film.
But this one really took her out, right? She was like,
it did.
I'm done.
It honestly pretty much, she doubted herself again, essentially. She was just like, I thought this was my little ray of hope to try, to redirect. And she, like I mentioned, she choked. And so she gave up on that dream. So good news. Rhonda got the green light for Harlem Ave with Whitman. Archie is a miracle worker, Ashley.
Why, Delora? Can we speak to that now?
We
Why?
absolutely can.
Go ahead, girl. What that man had to do?
Archie tickled some balls.
Oh my gosh.
That is the most random thing to do, by the way.
Exactly. That was my thing. It was like, it was shocking in the fact that it was so minor. I was like, hold on. So was this outside of clothing? Did he strip naked? You know, exactly. But like my mind went wild. I was like, why is this his thing?
Why? It's so random. It's almost one of those things where it's so petty, but it also shows dominance. You know what I mean?
That must be it, probably, is the power
kind of like
dynamic.
The kiss the ring thing to show, like, I can make you do this.
Exactly. I agree. That had to be it. Because I'm like, that was very minuscule in terms of sexual favors that he could have asked for. But I agree.
All the things.
I think it was definitely about the control and the power in that moment to say, listen, I can get you to do whatever I need you to do to get what I want out of you. So here we go.
Insane.
Again, okay. Archie, a real one.
A real one. And so Rhonda goes in to meet with women, and they start discussing the script. And before you know it, the script evolves into something that is unrecognizable. And I loved her actors, especially the husband and wife. And I love the part where the wife was like, why does she speak like this?
And to see Radha in that moment try to make any justification for it, right? Because, you know, she also doesn't agree with this. You know, she's also opposing this.
I will
and why
say,
the black woman? You got a black man,
yes,
a white woman, and a black woman, but only the black woman is speaking in some form of ebonics, essentially.
Exactly. Like we got to make it. We gonna make it, or something of
Is this a slave musical? Like, I'm confused what just happened.
And I will say, in that moment, I was so disappointed in Radha, because I felt like, yes, your script is evolving, but you don't have enough, guts to push back just slightly. Like, she could have changed that line, as far as I'm concerned. Would women would have noticed that?
I think in that moment she was feeling defeated to a certain extent, because remember, she had wanted a black director. That didn't happen. So I think maybe,
and I knew that wasn't going to happen, by the way, because that was something that happened in that meeting. She was like, I absolutely would love to have a black director. And he's like, oh, of course. Right. And I was like, that's not going to happen. I kind of picked up on that right away.
Yeah. So I think maybe that was the point, is that she at that point had probably fought some fights and thought that she was going to be able to get certain things her way, and it just kept coming back no. And she was getting closer and closer to, that first show, to what do they call it? Opening night?
Yes.
So, I think it was unfortunate. It was definitely disappointing, and you could tell her internal struggle with it, even though she wasn't necessarily as vocal about it just yet.
Her theater life and her rapping career started to clash, because Dee kept calling her. Texting. Like, honestly, she was making D sweat. I actually didn't expect him to be so persistent. I was actually surprised by that. That's
when I started to really like him, was the idea of him believing in her and her talent, when she had stopped believing in herself.
Yes.
That's when she needed you, and you were there for her. I appreciate that.
Well said. And so he was so persistent that he found out where her workshop was, and he stopped by.
One of the funniest scenes in the whole film.
Okay, tell me about it, Ashley.
With that old security guard, he's like,
yes.
He's like, I will beat your ass. Like, they said it chest to chest. This man looked like he's 80 years old. And Dee is 26. Why are you doing this?
Yes, but he was really about it. He was like, I will do what I have to do. But of course, Radha was there. She's like, he's with me. And he was able to take her home that night. And well, instead of taking her home, he made a couple of stops. More notably, they stopped at apparently a famous rap battle place.
Queen of the Ring.
Yes, Queen of the Ring.
That was so dope.
It was. And so I really, again, with his persistence and trying to get her inspired again, I did love that, that part. I actually didn't know where they were going with this relationship until after the battles. Oh, let's talk about that really quick. What were your thoughts about the battles? How did you enjoy them? Like, what were your impressions?
I think my favorite rapper was the last female rapper who had the braids. Like, she had some of my favorite bars of everybody. And I don't know if that was intentional. Like, if she was supposed to be considered the best, that's why she went last.
I think so. That's why everybody was trying to take shots at her. You always shoot up.
Exactly. But I'm a rap battle lover in general. Like, I have always kind of enjoyed those things. I think, you know, you get to say some things that people would find crazy, inappropriate in any other circumstance.
Yeah. I mean, even the first rapper, like the way she was putting like I think effing time every time I think that's
they were hella clever. Like, I loved the aggressiveness of the female rappers out of New York. Like, I think it's just a different world.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. And then I also, you know, I respect the wittiness of being able to battle on the spot. You know what I mean? This is not, I didn't take any time to write this down or think this out and go in the booth. You know, this is on the spot wit. So I respect the intellect that goes into that. Straight off
the dome.
Yeah, I respect it heavily. So I loved it. I also love the stairwell. You know, I love both of those scenes. You know, I think that really is supposed to speak to, you know, the rap love and the rap, kind of underground world that Radha had probably been appreciating, but again, hadn't gotten back into since she was in high school potentially.
Yes. And after the rap battle, it was so funny because this is why I love this movie, because again, I feel like we were definitely on the same brain waves. So he was like, oh, if there's anything else you need, you know, let me know. And that face, I was like, she is not about to ask this man to borrow his dick. And sure enough,
she broke that fourth wall, looked straight at us like, y'all know what's about to go down. Okay?
Yo, I was cracking up because I was like, I know she ain't going there. I know she ain't going there. She went there. Went there. Yes. It was so funny.
She sure did get her some D, literally. That's that part where she was like D, E, F, G, H, I. I was like, girl, like, okay. All right. I feel you.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
You better recite that alphabet.
But their connection seemed like it was cut off short, because after even connecting with one of the things that I didn't mention was they connected over the loss of their mothers.
Yes.
So we get a little bit more insight the morning after, just even about Radha and her life, and then him and how his mom, you know, introduced him to all the musical greats and things like that.
Coltrane, Quincy.
He even was spitting a couple of things too, like
Mama May I. I was saying that earlier for some reason. I was stuck in my head.
I mean, the level of vulnerability was very touching to me in that moment, because it just proved that it was like more between them. You know,
Delora,
something I did not expect. I didn't expect that at all.
I also love this scene because he called her out on something that we had not thought about yet. At least I hadn't as an audience member, was her relationship with her hair and why she was always covering her hair with a hair wrap. And again, as Black women, and because we just get bad hair,
always a conversation.
Exactly.
That is a minimum 30 minutes long.
And you do come to find out that there was a reason behind that, right? You know, so again, he did bring out things to her, and there was a connection. And
what was that reason, Ashley?
She basically said she felt like it was kind of like a form of comfort for her. So whether, you know, we didn't really get a sense of whether that's been, you know, again, since her mother passed, because one thing throughout this entire film is that her mother's passing has had a huge impact on the moment we're coming to. And her mother, Radha's mother, passed away in real life, by the way. So that is a true mirroring of art and life. And I think that this moment we're coming into, maybe she felt like she needed that security to be able to continue to push forward.
Yes. And
which makes a lot of sense.
Also mention, within the film, her mom had been gone about a year.
Yes, her mother, and her brother's trying to get her to come to the house to, you know, look at stuff, clean stuff. She's avoiding it, right? Most of the film, she's avoiding confronting this reality, which, by the way, another gem, her mother's real art is what's featured in the movie.
Yes. I love that. I picked up on that as well. And I thought that was just beautiful. And so So where I was getting to previously was, their sweet connection was cut short because she essentially was blowing him off again. He was like, so when will I see you again? I know you wanted to work on this mixtape. He is ready and willing. Yes. And she's just like, oh, well, we're in rehearsals, and essentially not making any time for him. So he kind of stormed off.
Yeah, he was like, you're not legit. Like, did you want to make this mixtape or not? So, okay. I cannot do more for you than you're willing to do for yourself, essentially.
Exactly. And Tornado Radha goes into Archie's house, and they're getting ready for the great premiere, and she's essentially trying on some wonderful outfits, and there's a disagreement going on between Archie and Radha as well, because he called her a sellout. Do you think she was what were your thoughts on that? Is she a sellout? Yes. And do you need to sell out sometimes? That's another question I have for you.
Oh, we don't. I don't think we have time for that conversation today, Dora. We trying to do better on our time, girl. But I will say, do I think in that moment she was a sellout? Yes, because again, to our earlier point about the bare basics to me of what she wanted to do versus what the actual production ended up being. Yes, in that sense, she was a sellout. Did I think that Archie was fair in that critique? I agree with her that he helped contribute to her selling out.
Absolutely.
Now, whether or not he can say, well, I did what you asked me to do, I get all of that, but you can't be in this with me and then all of a sudden point the finger and say, but you're selling out. Like, sir, but you're Korean and I think you like to be a little more white than you do Korean. So you know what I mean? Like it was kind of a double-edged sword.
Wait, the other reason why I love Archie is like he knew Black references. Like he referred to Radha after the choke when he had the meeting to talk, trying to get back in touch with Whitman. He referred to her as Miss Sophie getting out of jail. Yes. I was rolling. I'm like, come through, Color Purple references.
It makes sense, right? Because of the world that he lives in.
Yes.
That he definitely should hopefully know those references.
Yes. So I felt really conflicted because, like you mentioned, he helped her get there. And I feel conflicted because I don't want to dismiss his work. The work that he did to get to that place, right? But at the same time, I know you don't want to go down this rabbit hole. You kind of have to play chess and not checkers, right? In your career, you gotta sacrifice some pawns to get queened. So I don't know. We'll talk about the Queen's Gambit much later.
At some point in time, yes.
Yes, we will. So at this point, Rhonda is spiraling. She is essentially fighting with everyone in her life who means something, whether it's in the theater world or her pending hip hop career. And she finally finds time to see her brother.
Yep.
And it was great to see him because, I mean, at this point, he just seemed like an elusive figure. Like, okay, she has a sibling. But in this moment, we got a chance to see more of her mom's art. They're essentially trying to figure out what to do with their mother's belongings. And they have a really good conversation. What did you take away from this brother's visit?
Well, for one, love that she used her real brother. Love all the family inclusion.
Yes,
second was I appreciated the fact that even though to me it seemed like in this moment she was trying to project her own insecurities onto her mother, that he reminded her, like, that's not our mother's journey. That's not the legacy that she's leaving is not of failure or not living out her dreams. Her dreams were fulfilled in totality because, she got to do everything she wanted to do and more. She loved us as her children. She loved her teaching. She loved her art. So I think in that moment, it helped to reposition her mindset in that, this may be where you are, but again, don't put that onto mom and don't manifest that for yourself because that's where you happen to be sitting right now. So
the stories we tell ourselves are so important and so critical
Yes.
to how we navigate through this life. And honestly, you know, you're reminded instantly of, you know, someone who was riding high at one moment in time, right? 30 under 30, what an accomplishment. But I'm going to insert some real life. There was this meme going around after the election, essentially just talking about how, you know, whether, regardless of your political affiliation, Kamala found the love of her life at 48 years old. And then she was able to reach the pinnacle of her career in her 50s. You know, Joe Biden had run 3 times previously and failed. And he's reaching his the pinnacle of his career in his 70s. And so essentially the conversation is, they don't make 60 under 60, but that's okay. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's okay. You can reroute, you can continue to build towards something. If you're in your right mind and movement of your body, you can do anything you want to do. And
as my screensaver on my phone says, stop, start over, let's fucking go. That's the mentality. That's the mentality. Like, you know, again, Radha in real life is portraying that, right? I mean, she feels like she never compromised her artistry in real life. And now she's starting to reap the benefits in her 40s. So again, you may not always reach it in time. And again, if you're obviously a God-fearing person, have some, you know, your faith, like, okay, God doesn't always bring you what you need in the time you may see fit, but he will bring it in time. When the
lessons learned in those quote unquote failures helps you to appreciate, you know, that summit, that mountaintop. So, yes, in some of the reading of this movie, she said it took years to make this film. And I love how she also called this movie a love letter to, you know, people who might feel like their dreams are unfulfilled, but to keep going. So
absolutely beautiful message.
Beautiful. So we make it to opening night, the big show, Harlem Ave. And it seems like the audience is eating it up, but Radha's not having it. She didn't even go into the room.
Well, everybody except Forrest. You know, you see Forrest as the reaction of the people, of the Black folk.
Of the Blacks.
I'm over this.
The one thing about our culture is that we will tell you about yourself at all times.
When he brought out the fan, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. Like,
he is not pleased.
No.
Are you surprised she didn't go into the room?
I wasn't surprised. For one, when I put myself in her position, I was like, I'd probably be throwing up because my anxiety would probably be on 10, especially if I wasn't happy about it.
Yes.
But I don't want to overstep where you're about to go with it. I'll just say in that moment, I was not at all surprised. Well, I was just going to say, I mean, obviously she gets her moment thereafter. After the curtain.
Yes.
She gets her moment to express herself. So. Yes.
Now, I will say this is why this movie got an A- for me. So the opening night it's now done. The Black woman and the white woman hold hands, even though the husband has run off because he apparently has slept with the white woman. We're not. It's a hot fire dumpster. Okay. And again, they call Rhonda out to come, center stage because, the writer takes a bow, right?
Right.
And she gets her flowers and she takes the mic. And she told the audience about, how her whole play was trash.
You can see the struggle, the internal struggle of, am I going to keep doing what I've been doing? Or am I going to say what I really need to say? And at the point where she was like making all the gestures and both Jay Whitman and the lady took a step back, I died laughing. I was like, what is this Black woman about to do?
I mean, we're already unpredictable, right?
She
Anyway.
already choked Jay Whitman out, who
Very
knows?
true. Very true. I will say this is where I felt secondhand embarrassment. Because I just feel so uncomfortable because, again, I'm the type of person see things through. This man invested money in your stuff. The actors, even if you don't even care about the producer, the actors,
Yeah.
put their time and their hopes and dreams in this play. And you just told the inaugural audience that this was just trash. I don't know. I understand being true to yourself, but I just feel like, okay, here's a question for you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Is there ever a time where it's too late to be true to yourself?
Oh man, that's a really good question. My immediate answer is no. To your point, I understand what you're saying in terms of, we've invested now, we've made
To
it
what
to this
expense?
point.
Like, who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
like,
but at the same time, I guess the way I took it is, Delora, this is a film. This
yes,
shit would never happen in real life,
life.
in my mind, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I want to use Hamilton because Hamilton is a frame of reference a lot of people have seen and know. Let's say J. Manuel Miranda was like, saw this later and said, actually, this was trash. I hated this. He's never, I said Jay, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes.
He's never going to go on stage and say, listen, Hamilton was trash. I hated this show. Like, that's never going to happen.
Yes.
So it just struck
First
me.
Of all, he's made way too much money off of that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Lin-Manuel Miranda is a household name because of
Period.
Hamilton, right? And that's what they
Legend.
showed that Radha was going to potentially be, right? Or she was talking Broadway. So you know what I mean? The possibilities for her career off of this were going to be endless.
It's always a major when actors are in workshop, because then they're able to translate when it goes to, off Broadway, because again, Hamilton reference, and because I've been obsessed with it since for the last 4 years, a lot of those actors were workshopped. So Leslie Odom Jr., Davy Diggs, Christopher Jackson, I mean, all of them, right? Not all of them. I take that back. Actually, I found out, you remember the Mindy Project? The guy who played her brother, he actually workshopped in Hamilton. And so his schedule was conflicted and he went for the job. Apparently it got canceled or never developed. And he was like, I missed out on fucking Hamilton.
Freaking Hamilton, right? Yes. Lin-Manuel Miranda went and pitched that to Barack and Michelle at the White House. I mean, I'm just saying, like, again, to me, it was a very cinematic moment. Like, I think it was an artistic liberty to say, this is what I would say in a perfect world if I could have that type of freedom, right? Like, in reality, I think to your point, there would probably be way too much invested for somebody at that point to completely implode on something that could potentially really take their career to the next level. Did I understand her and appreciate her in that moment though? Yes, because again, we do see the struggle and you don't necessarily want her to go down that path. Like you hope the same way that for this film, Lena Waithe was a producer and kind of allowed this project to breathe and become what it is now. I want that for Radha in the film too. I want her to be able to still fund her dreams, but do it in a way that's authentic to who she is. But to your question, I don't think that it's necessarily ever too late, but I think that most people are too sane or too rational to necessarily do things at a certain point, especially when, again, your livelihood, because we have bills to pay as grown adults. We have bills.
Like she was telling Forrest in the beginning, he was like, your ancestors don't need your rent paid?
Exactly. Karen wants my rent paid. So, and it's New York. It's New York City. The cost of living is astronomical.
Absolutely. Talk about keeping it real. The price of keeping it real, right?
Girl,
when keeping it real goes wrong.
People living in closets for $1,000 a month in New York. I'm just saying.
Exactly. So, and then after that moment, she walks off. She does mic drop. Like every rap battle.
Obama out.
And she catch ups with D and they stroll they stroll the streets of New York, and it's in the movie. So is there anything in closing you'd like to say about this movie?
I think you hit on all of the highlights that I had written down literally. So kudos to you on a fantastic recap.
Oh, thank you.
I just had to put that out there in case you guys didn't know. And again, I really just so thoroughly enjoyed this, especially, I'm rooting for Radha now. She was not on my radar before.
Yes.
But in terms of, Black female creators, Radha, do your thing, girl.
Do your thing.
We didn't say this, but I loved your rapping. I thought you were
yes.
rapper.
I thought I said it. I thought she spit fire.
We didn't talk about
fire.
That. Yeah, she
Dylan.
Yeah, she was dope. I think it's, again, I'm a sucker for like that New York swag and like that New York toughness when people are rapping. So I loved it.
Yes. And then I also honorable mention the homeless Lamont.
Yeah.
He was funny too.
I'm gonna need you to love that sandwich though. That's it. I'm gonna need
beggars can't be choosers. That's all.
That sandwich, sir. Need you to chill.
So that's it for the recap of 40-year-old version. Oh, can we also say, and I did not mention this, absolutely love the play on the title, because 40-year-old virgin is one of my favorite movies. Okay.
My mom thought that's what we were doing. And she was like, I've already seen that, Ash. That's pretty old. I said, Mom, we're doing the 40-year-old version.
Totally.
She meant to do as a wordplay, but just to be clear, guys,
it is hard, depending, especially if you talk like me. I really try really hard. Version. Like, girl, okay, anyway.
Midwesterners, sorry, we have accents. What are you going to do?
All right, Ashley, are you ready for your hidden gems?
Yes. You want me to start?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to breeze through these a little quick. So I was in a rom-com mood last weekend for some reason, and my favorite rom-com that I saw was Plus One, a 2019 film starring Maya Erskine and Jack Quaid, who, if you're a Boys fan, The Boys on Amazon, he's Huey. He's also the son of Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid.
Mm-hmm.
And
he looks so much like his daddy.
He does, but he really did not want any help with his career when he started out, by the way, which neither here nor there, but I really respect that about him as an actor. The film is available on Hulu. It's just a really cute rom-com where basically they're friends, been friends for years. They decide to accompany each other on weddings as they've been going to them for their friends, family, whatever. And obviously in a rom-com, love ensues. So it was just
kind of like
cute.
Holiday, right? But
kinda
better,
like Holiday,
hopefully.
Kind of like Holiday, but it was, I enjoyed it more because I enjoyed Holiday for what it was, but Plus One, I wanted to immediately watch it again. It was one of those for me.
I'm going to have to check that out.
It was one of those for me. I loved it. I also have down, it's not a hidden gem because it's number 2 right now in America on Netflix. It's Zero F's Given, Kevin Hart's new comedy special.
Really?
I just listed it because, if you enjoy Kevin Hart, this is one that he did from the privacy of his home with multiple guests. The set was dope. Just really, I think, just wanting to put some positivity out there during COVID and quarantine and all those things. It dropped on Tuesday of this week. I got some chuckles in. If you're a fan of Kevin Hart, I think you will enjoy it. No, he's not Dave Chappelle. He's not ever going to be pushing the envelope necessarily that hard, because I had a whole conversation with Johnny about that. And I know you're listening, Johnny. But he always gives me at least a few good chuckles. So I enjoyed it. And then my last one, Delora, is Coastal Elites. This is an HBO film that just dropped in September, basically starring 5 actors: Bette Midler, Issa Rae, Dan Levy, Sarah Paulson, and Caitlin Dever. Yes, check this out. HBO is called Coastal Elites. It's basically each character gives a monologue. So it's literally one character on screen at a time. And it was originally intended to be a New York public theater stage play, but because of COVID, they decided to do it in different settings, and each character is very politically leaning. So anyone who does not necessarily want to get into politics, you may want to stay away from this one, but I enjoyed it and I found it interesting, and I think it's a conversation piece. I will say that. So interesting. That I watched over the weekend as well. So again, Plus One, Zero F's Given, and Coastal Elites. Those are my hidden gems for this week.
Thank you, Ashley. All right. I have 2 hidden gems this week. The first is a Netflix show, I should say, called Julie and the Phantoms. It is
Yes.
a 10 episode G-rated TV series. Each episode is around 25 to 38 minutes. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great teeny bop music. It's like Netflix, counter to the typical Disney original movie. And honestly, they stole Kenny Ortega. This is his first Netflix project. Kenny Ortega is a legend. He's worked with Michael Jackson, but you know him best for High School Musical, The Descendants. I mean, his list goes on and on and on and on. And he did it again with this show. It's about a young lady, a little Latina. She's in high school, and she's dealing with the loss of her mom. She's super talented, but she lost her way with music. It also follows a band, rock band, who's trying to make it, but they die. And
Wow.
they magically appeared in the garage 25 years later, where they meet Julie, and they help her find her voice, and they get a chance to relive their stardom, because they only show up when they play. So, and then they disappear. So super, super cute. My second hidden gem is a YouTube channel / Instagram account called Avantgardevegan. So I'll spell that for you at Avantgardevegan. Basically, this is the epitome of hipster. Like, dude is doing the hipster haircut. Obviously, he's a vegan with a bunch of tattoos and rolled up sleeves. Okay. And, but he's a trained chef, because the way he cuts is immaculate. But I don't know. He looks super talented. I don't know. I've never tried any of his recipes, but he has the most calming voice. Okay. And his food, again, looks delicious, super beautiful, colorful.
Love a man with a soothing voice. Hello.
It is very, it's like, it's not ASMR, but it's like relaxing to watch someone cook. You know what I mean? So highly recommend his profile and his YouTube channel.
Okay, he's on YouTube. Okay.
And and he goes by the same name. So those are my hidden gems this week.
All right, nice. Well, that's lucky number 7 in the books, kids.
Yes.
Nice. So, Delora, where can they find us on social media?
Yes, so they can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Recapping Podcast, but we are now also on, we have a Facebook page at Recapping Podcast. And again, the spelling, it's like our title, so, drop the G. And a quick announcement, we're going to skip next week, which is a national holiday, Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy holidays.
But we will be back in December with some holiday movies.
Yes, we're going to be super excited to continue to talk shop with all of you guys, as we have been on Recapping with Delora and Ashley. So, Delora, as always, been nothing but a pleasure.
Yes, as always. And we'll post on social media what our first recap of December is going to be. So check us out. Good. Follow us, subscribe, comment, like us. Thank you very much.
All the things. All right, guys. See ya.
Bye.